evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Tonight is a January 30th special joint public hearing with the East Fishkill Town Board and Planning Board. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, like I said, this is a special joint public hearing for Town Board and Planning Board. This doesn't happen very often, but the Town Board several years ago, when we adopted our economic development plans and procedures, we decided to help applicants save some time so we can have a joint public hearing. For the Town Board, what we have to look at is we adopt a economic redevelopment special permit for anything on the east and west campuses located right off of Route 52. And for the Planning Board, they will continue with their public hearing to review the entire site plan, SEQRA review, the whole entire project. But for the Town Board, we listen to the project to make sure that it meets all the criteria for us to then issue a special redevelopment permit for the applicant. So with saying that, I will make a motion for the Town Board to open up public hearing for the Economic Redevelopment Special Permit.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now open. Chairman.
Yes, I'll accept a motion to declare intent to be lead agency.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and I'll accept a motion to open the public hearing for the Planning Board.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Excellent. So public hearings are now open. Tonight we have with us iPark East Fishkill. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. My name is Dan Panesi. Thank you very much to the Town Board and to the Town Planning Board. I'm here with George DeStefano, who many of you may recognize. George is our in-house architect. I've been here, I think it was about 4 years ago since the last time I was here. I'm in-house counsel. I've been with iPark for about 15 years. And as you can appreciate, we're just getting our legs under us. So we certainly appreciate the opportunity to be back here in front of you pursuing this application. I was hoping to tonight give you a bit of an update on where we are on the application here, answer any questions that you may have, and then hopefully set forth a better schedule for us to be more technically responsive to some of the comments we've received. In anticipation of this meeting, we reviewed the comments that the town engineers have provided, and I regret to say Labella's comment responses of October 14th, August 15th, 2024. So I appreciate that we're a little delayed here, but our plan currently in reviewing these comments is that the technical comments are largely centered around landscaping and drainage. We are in the process of having the traffic report revised, which I'm told will be issued next week, and we'll share with you all. Following that, we will have Labella and our engineers revise the site plan to be more responsive to these technical comments. And our hope is that we can establish somewhat of a schedule for SEQRA and answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Great.
So you want to just give an overview? The plan has not really changed much. We're still pursuing the distribution warehouse as it's currently configured, and George can give you a little bit more of a technical overview.
And for the Town Board, which we don't hear these applications often, this was a proposal to one of their sites at iPark East Fishkill. Several years ago, another applicant came for a similar warehouse at the exact location. So for the Town Board, just so you understand, so we can have an overview of the project for us to issue the special redevelopment.
Yeah, forgive me. I had assumed that we all had been as familiar maybe as the Planning Board was, but to give you some orientation of the site, this exists as was stated on the east side of the campus. It's between Lime Kiln Road and what we're calling East Drive. It's currently on what you may be familiar with as lots 4 and 6 on the site, kind of in the southeast corner of the East Campus. this site was historically not developed, so this had not had any improvements on it before, was not a parking lot or what have you. The prior application and the instant application does have some requirements from the DEC, particularly on the south side. There is designated wetlands that we're working through with a wetlands permit with the DEC that remains in process, and to the extent that you all are so inclined to issue the special permit and site plan approval, depending on where we are in that application process, we would accept it as a condition, certainly. Another piece of this application, which is a little bit different than just simply a distribution warehouse, as you see here, is a relocation of the water tank. That's really where the origin of this application was. And that water tank is being relocated to the west, just across East Drive. We've been in discussions that water tank largely serves other buildings that we own in the site. It does also serve on Semi now, and they're fully aware of our application here, and we've been working with them on how we would facilitate relocating that water tank.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so just to add a little bit more detail to what Dan just talked through, the site plan is roughly a little over 800,000 square feet of warehouse. Like he said, this is essentially the same proposed project as what was in front of the town last year by a different applicant, and we're now bringing it forward. Essentially, what we did is have our engineers work out the site plan to address a good amount of the comments. To our knowledge, all of the landscape comments have been picked up by our engineers. We're still working through some of the stormwater comments that we received, and we'll meet with the town to talk through those. The previous applicant had also gone through the process of meeting with the Architectural Review Board, and they had approved that. So we plan to come in, our application proposes keeping the architecture exactly the same as was approved. So we believe we're good on that front. And just to talk through the landscaping a little bit, because some of the comments dealt with screening along some of the more public-facing roads. So you could see shown here along many of the roads here in detail, Shenandoah, lots of plantings, screening the building along that edge. Here it's showing where the building comes closest to, I guess, the most public-facing corner of the building along Lime Kiln. You'll see a dense rows of tall, I think 10-foot trees proposed along that edge to screen the building. And then again, also on South Drive, where you get some exposure close to the road, again, you'll see the dense level of plantings at that corner. So like Dan mentioned, we're happy to answer any questions that the boards may have.
Any questions from the town board? They meet all our requirements that was set forth in our redevelopment permit.
The tank that needs to be relocated, what does that serve? I know it serves multiple locations, but what is it doing? Is it domestic water? Is it fire protection water? Cooling water?
It's fire suppression.
It's fire suppression. So is the new tank going to be built before the old tank's demoed?
Yes.
Okay, so that'll be up and running, signed off? Okay, thank you.
Any concerns from the DEC that remain regarding moving that tank?
Not from the DEC on moving the tank. We have had somewhat of a breakthrough with the DEC on developing the site and how we can go about it. We continue to work with them. They're involved in kind of two aspects of it, as some of you may be familiar, one being the wetlands that I described before, and the wetlands permit will be forthcoming. The second piece is the vapor barrier, and we're very close. We've performed all of the testing. It has come back clean. So we are working with them on whether that will be an absolute mandatory requirement or not.
But will the test well monitoring remain? Or you're saying that it'll be eradicated once you've met that threshold?
Well, there's two points there. There will remain monitoring wells that need to remain. We're hoping that, and we think that we've established that they can be in the perimeter of the building.
So they'll be
Not have
on
to
the
be within
outside,
the-
they won't be inside the footprint?
Correct.
And then I know that there was some talk about height. We had had some I think that was the original, was the Lidl plan had a excess of height, right? Is that going to remain? The fire department, I know that there was some questions with regards to fire safety, height, and what apparatus and equipment we have to answer a call to that site.
Do you recall?
Yeah.
I'd have to
Okay.
look at that.
Fair enough.
I do think that it would probably be beneficial that after we go through, have this traffic report issued and get through another turn of the plans, as perhaps a work session would be beneficial to dig
Yeah,
into some of the more
with,
technical.
fire safety and those types of people.
I think the originally proposed building, this is making me go back, it was taller. I think that they brought the height
This
down
one
a
we've
little
got
bit.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's still.
I just was curious if it met the requirements
But I
for,
believe they did bring the height of the building down a little bit.
Do we have a maximum height of the building now?
What is the maximum height of the building?
I think the maximum, I think it was 65 feet, but I need to look back to confirm.
it's a little higher.
Yeah, I do, from what I recall, it was within the height limit of the special permit.
So is there a new customer lined up for this warehouse, or we're just building a warehouse and so hoping somebody's going to come and fill it?
No, we wouldn't be so bold as to do that, but we do have, there's been significant interest beyond the transaction that was the subject of the prior application. The industrial market is still very strong, and this type of project in particular is incredibly sought after. So we'd like to pursue it on a spec basis, but I can tell you that ordinarily that's not part of our business plan, is to go fully spec, because, like I said, we wouldn't be so bold to do that.
I did speak, so for the Planning and Town Board, I did speak with the developers quite often, and they did go through a litany of prospective tenants for the building. They were in the process of negotiations and signing non-disclosures as well, because I guess some companies like to keep things more secret. And of course, we wanted to know who, but we didn't get to know who. But there were several tenant possibilities. Also for the town board and planning board's edification, myself and the town attorney and town engineer did have a meeting with the regional director of the DEC about some specific sites on iPark East Campus, and we had some concerns over the landfill, which this project is, which Mr. Panesi described, why they need the vapor barrier, and also about the monitoring wells. They were very okay with reconfiguring where the monitoring wells were to go. They didn't seem to have a problem with that. They did say they were in the process of reviewing the vapor barrier, and if they would needed to be the entire building or just a portion of the building. The testing, we did see the results of the testing from the old landfill, and nothing of significant did come up. I believe that the property was clean, meaning no contamination, and we hope that the DEC could just make sure that there's a proper procedures in place. That's what we wanted to know, to make sure that development could continue at a steady pace, and that we weren't sitting there waiting for DEC to finally come up with a decision. And the regional director was very clear that they have a procedure in place to make sure that it continues in a timely fashion.
So it would be beyond this project, then, you're saying? Lands beyond this project?
Well, when we discussed with the regional director was this parcel and several others.
Okay.
Yeah, we have concerns about the site because of the contamination.
Absolutely.
And what types of development can potentially go. They have a couple other vacant parcels that they were thinking of others, because many people in the public, as you know, always say, why can't we have commercial uses there, and why can't we have stores, and why can't we have residences? Well, it's really not up to the developer. They would like to have that, but the DEC says absolutely no. Whatever continues to move forward here has to be industrial in fashion.
Yeah, thank you. And we are, probably partly in response to some of those discussions. We have made good headway with the agency to deal with those perimeter parcels, if you will, to remove them from the permit with the requisite restrictions remaining in place, pursuant to an easement or something like that, a conservation easement, but allowing maybe more flexible redevelopment on the periphery.
Yeah, that was the whole idea for the town board when we finally came up with this redevelopment permit to try to get other uses in there. As you know, the planning board knows very well, we changed many uses on both the east and west campus, which has allowed all this development. Anything else from the town board? Any other comments? It's not the first time we've seen this.
If I may ask, just for procedure, the planning board is now lead agency. I assume you'll be keeping maybe both public hearings open. Would the next step be perhaps to have a neg deck issued, perhaps followed by the permit, and then a conditional site plan approval? Is that kind of the cadence of what we can expect here?
What to be expected this evening, I believe, is the town board will close our public hearing, and once seeker is completed, then once we see that determination, then the town board will issue the special reuse, the redevelopment permit.
Great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from the planning board?
No, sir.
No? Any questions from the professionals? None at this time? Okay, at this time, can I have a motion to close town board's public hearing? Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing now closed.
Okay, and we will adjourn our public hearing, and we'd like to know what date will work for you. Are you going to be available at our February 18th meeting, or do you want to adjourn this to a later date?
Or we're going to do a workshop
Enough
type of thing.
time to advertise.
They could come to the
Understood.
discussion.
Understood. So
is that
the
meeting?
following meeting would be March 18th.
Yeah, March 10th, the next meeting, you could actually do a public hearing. You would come for discussion in February, but you wouldn't have time to advertise.
Yes. We can plan for March 18th for the public hearing. That would be great.
Okay.
And we would appreciate being on the agenda, and perhaps we can start to address some of the more technical issues in the interim with the hope that we could close the public hearing maybe in March.
Okay. So may I have a motion to adjourn this public hearing to our March 18th meeting?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank